It's Demuslim versus Beasty. Let's get to it. That's right, Demuslim, of course, once again taking back that top spot. 3,436 elo. Demuslim has quite the lead over Beasty right now. Beasty, 3,168 elo. Now, admittedly, Demuslim has played a lot more games, and the win percentage is higher for Beasty. But you know, like numbers say this, numbers say that. All I know is that we're going to get a bloodbath here because it's quite an interesting choice. Delhi versus the Chinese on Altai. Not your everyday Civ choices. Now, admittedly, we have been seeing more of the Chinese picked on this specific map. The Delhi is still quite an intriguing choice, though. The limited amount we've been seeing them recently, they've kind of been looking a little bit lackluster. I think we saw it on the weekend. There was a game between Vortex and Puppypaw where Vortex was playing as the Delhi, had a great aggression, but Puppypaw had a great way of kind of snaking his way into a later stage of the game where the Chinese should be quite desirable. And I think that's the key thing to realize here. Like, Beasty needs to play a fast game, as you usually do with the Delhi, as the worst Civ when they have to go Imperial because they cannot unlock their potential very quickly and they don't really get the biggest power surge up anyway there, compared to one of the latest game Civs available, one of the best in that Imperial Age, that post-Imp point in the game, the Chinese themselves. And, well, Chinese themselves have a very interesting spawn here. Defensive wood lines that you can easily block off against early sort of outpost spams or raid-ins. The Delhi aren't likely to aggressively outpost your base. And the raid-ins can be very limited due to the fact that like the goal when you're playing Delhi is control midfield and attack pocket ecos. My issue with this map generation for Beasties, I don't really see a way in which Demuslim's going to be running pocket ecos anytime too soon. Only one gold vein at the back, but a stone alongside it. Double wood line to protect his primary base. Double food stack over here as he set up his sheep there, and then the deer in reserve. There's plenty to keep him safe. He doesn't have to come out too quickly. Now, one reason Demuslim could come out quickly in this early game is to drop Le Barbican right here. Get a little barbecue going on the sacred site. A popular strategy when you're up against the Delhi, and we have seen that utilized in this specific matchup recently in a competitive scene. We'll have to see if Demuslim goes for it, if the greed is going to be too tempting. I've seen too many players that they think, ooh, Imperial Academy does sound good, would like it. Let's see if he can't resist the temptation. Beastie on the opening. Oh, there we go. That feels good. That feels good. Too many times recently, I've clicked on a player who's playing Delhi. I've clicked on his mill, and this hasn't been researched. We even watched it on this map on the weekend. So that is refreshing. And we'll have to see if he remembers this. I hope he remembers this. Keep in mind, Beastie's been playing off of long wood. He hasn't actually set up a lumber camp yet because he wanted to go for the mill plus the mining camp as well as the mosque as quickly as possible. Gives him a quicker unlock on piety, so should actually end up worth it down the line, especially if he's threatened by potential aggression from the Chinese in the mid. Wood line is fun now, going to be efficient here. Deer stack also pretty close to base, so like there isn't really much exploitable in Beastie's base other than the gold. You can't easily go after the deer in the wood line. But if you do actually cover the gold, you do somewhat cover the berries as well. So this is something to keep in mind. But I don't expect Demuslim to make that sort of villager pool. Talking playstyles, like Ben isn't really the type of person to go hard in for an outpost rush with the Chinese. He's very much this type of player that likes to get his TC boom unlock. We've seen it before. When he's been hard pressured by his opponent, he'll sit back in his base and he'll still go for that secondary TC with limited food, with the confidence that he'll be able to move out and sacrifice economy to gain ground. That means the Beastie should actually have a quite free open field here. It is a little bit concerning that Demuslim isn't going to play for the Barbican on the central sacred site. I think it's a very strong point to delay your opponent's power spike. And off the back of that, you can easily start walling off these outer sacred sites. We've seen that used to great effect in these matchups versus the Delhi, where if you have the Barbican to begin with, and then you shift the villages out from there to the south and north side, you can block off all of these approaches and deny the Delhi a way of even playing this matchup. Make no mistakes, folks. Although he's going to give over those sacred sites, Demuslim's goal here is to like kick that timer down the road. It's to delay the game as much as possible. We've watched him quite a few times now, I feel like, playing this Civ in this map. And it always comes down to the same concept. Like, I don't think I've once witnessed Ben go for like a Jugenu early aggressive push or a cheesy barbican drop. Like, he's always looking to just unlock the Chinese's full late game potential, which does suit his playstyle. I think Demuslim is very much kind of this castle and beyond type player. That's not to like fully categorize him and say there aren't examples where he's gone fuel aggressive. The most notable one recently is a Roos versus a Bassin matchup in 4 Lakes against Mister. But generally, for the most, he's very comfortable with this later stage in the game. That's why we regularly see him and Beastyqt perform quite well at a high level consistently. I think that, you know, even as we shift towards a more aggressive style of play, there's still a place for these late game civs and these 40-minute plus games if you choose the right maps to do it on. And Altai can definitely be that. I think in a lot of ways, Altai can more easily be that now because of the changes around the mid-map. There's so many more wood lines around here that can be exploitable as choke points to control, but they also can leave you susceptible to aggression. And speaking of aggression, there's the barbican we were talking about. He delays it though, Spearmen are moving across. Now he only has 2 though, even cancels the walls. Demuslim will get this up. In fact, if he micros correctly, he might not even lose a single villager for it. And you can see Beastyqt just pulling everyone invested in it. And there you go. You just shift the villagers off one by one. Remember, he did get back wheelbarrow already, so you can't actually kill them off easily. And wait, what? Is Beastyqt escorting him back to base? Like, what's going on here? Ah, I see you are the informant. Let's get you back to base so you can tell us more later. There you go. Barbican goes up. Lumber camp alongside it to keep the efficiency. Demuslim can convert this into more than it appears right now. Love this barbican, by the way. Doesn't just prevent the sacred site cap. Look what's behind it. Secondary gold line. Long-term, Demuslim's going to need this, so he's actually consolidating to secure it ahead of time. This is a brilliant usage of the barbican, something that I've been crying and pleading for over and over again more recently. Usually when we see the barbican dropped after the Imperial Academy, people just drop it as like a, okay, whatever, I just want Song Dynasty. It's not even about the fact it's a strong static defense anymore. It just becomes this side note in the history books because you wanted to get this Song Dynasty and get your villager production time down. Instead, what Demuslim's done here is he's actually taken a little bit of idle time to secure a critical resource in the center, and now he has a buffer zone. And the cool thing is, as you go towards like the 18 to 20 minute mark, he gets a way of now bridging these gaps between his barbican and his base. With the walls going up on the sides, and the way that I know Demuslim likes to play this, it is going to move out towards where that barbican is by around 18, 20 minutes, because you can already see he's hard on the stone. The multi-TC build, get a second one up, and you're almost at 3 town centers. No, my maths isn't off, it's just that's how powerful Song Dynasty is. Down at 13 seconds instead of 20. This is going to be mighty potent for him. On the other side, Beastyqt is prepping for a delayed aggression here. You can see he understands that he's not going to be fighting tooth and nail over the midfield, so instead he moves out a few cheap spears, walls up everywhere that his opponent can maybe block him on the outskirts so he can at least secure 2 sacred sites. And then when the time comes to fight, he's going to have all of his tech researches done because he primed the double blacksmith. Meanwhile, Ben just trying to prime that eco count to be even more in his favor. Already 4 ahead of Beastyqt, and it will accelerate quickly here. Imperial official count is only at 2 right now, and 1 is on tax duty, so you can see he hasn't got too many people working the gold, but there could be this natural scalability towards Castle Age in terms of getting the gold required, and then you can boom up your food off the back of just having a second Imperial official. Would love to see him going up to 3 soon, but that's only once he requires an additional resource, something like wood when he starts going to siege or a heavy military district. Something that doesn't look quite heavy is this assault. 2 horsemen coming in from Beastyqt. This is kind of the annoyance for the Delhi in this matchup somewhat, is that the Chinese can remain condensed for quite a while, and you can't easily dive them with horsemen because even though that they'd pull all their villagers away, which would usually be seen as a downside because if you're playing like very defensive, you're only on your town center, no units being built, the whole idea is like you're anti-dive because your villagers will all garrison the TC straight away. Well, problem with playing the Chinese is you don't have all your villagers next to the town center. They're always over at the berry patch where you slaughter your sheep as well, so that you have a building to drop off and tax. The cool balance point of this, though, for the Chinese is the gunslide. The hand cannon does 25 damage per shot. A lot more than what you'll get out of a TC fire arrows when you're up against a unit that does have range resistance. But in this situation, you can see that Beastyqt isn't even negating like, what, 10% of the damage is done. That's a heavy hit into each of these horsemen. The cool thing about playing the deli, at least, is you can offset that once you get scholars here. But as it stands, Beasty isn't actually fielding scholars on the forefront to heal up. He is, however, racing up towards Castle Age, and he's about less than a minute away from getting it. Arifan, full pullback there, will at least slaughter one of the horsemen. Ben will have to be quick in his tech up. He's limited in time as it stands. And time has arrived for Beasty to go up. Is it going to be the House of Learning here? House of Learning could be phenomenal to give him an edge in cavalry combat. Compounder defenders could offer a way to end the game quicker, but instead it will be the House of Learning, anticipating that his opponent is going to be eco-booming up, and it's going to be very difficult with this generation to go for aggressive keep drops that could close the game out quickly, especially on the back of this. He still doesn't have the Sacred Sight. I think that's the key detail in Beasty's mind. Like, if he was to consider Compounder defender, he would have to have all 3 Sacred Sights. He'd have to have a win condition ticking that he can then invest in with cheaper keeps. And there is the Delhi NHS hard at work, making sure that the loss of horsemen is kept to an absolute minimum. But that will be the last of the horsemen we see. It's a cavalry switch over time. As the final one will come out, we should see a switch into Lancers, and it is going to be hard into Lancers and Tower Elephants here, folks. Elephants that right now Demuslim has 0 answers for. Elephants and also Lancers that are both capable of diving his base. Ben needs to rush this. And looks like a bit of a rush job. Hard on the gold now. Looks like we've got 3rd Imperial official coming out. Taxation also still being added in, but I think that should be changed to a supervisor if anything. In fact, he definitely needs to change that supervisor. He needs to stone as quickly as possible because he still hasn't even got the food for the tech up. So you might want to make sure that you're not denied in any sort of area as you approach this. The Sacred Sight being casually capped over here. Arrow fire, somewhat a deterrent, but these scholars with decent heal rates. Nice pull by the villagers there. He'll force him to invest the troops to get him off the Sacred Sight, but at the end of the day, it should be a cap for Beasty. The issue is how he holds onto this after he loses the frontline troops, because they are gradually dying despite the heals. Sacred Sight. There we go. That's the decap we were talking about. Yeah, it's interesting that BC went for that. Like, he lost, what, a few spearmen for it. He maybe gained a gold trickle of 100, possibly. He can maybe delay it further. But if you min-max this, like, you should at least still get your gold out of it. You're not going to keep the win condition ticking down. That's for sure. You need to do more if you want to get control. And that's where the elephants come into the picture. Elephants and Lancers that should be coming soon. I like these going for the Lancers first. I think a big mistake people make when they go for this type of build is they prep Elephants ahead of time, and they don't have a way of using them. Lancers are a lot easier to wield at the start of Castle Age than Elephants, because you're able to gap close, get across the map, and exploit your tech up advantage. If you go Elephants, it's great when they arrive, but by the time they arrive, especially if your opponent scouts early on, this counter's in place. It's very fickle and annoying to deal with. I believe Beasty should have relics coming home soon. Yep, looking to yoink them up now. 2 on the outskirts. Did he even grab the one in the center yet? He did. I was wondering where that was. Now, I know it gives you resource, but and I know you you farm gold with it, but the mill has nothing to do with it. Beasty, buddy. Wait, where's this one going? What? Where is he clicking these? Sir? Alright, we're going to check back on that, because Lancers raiding in. Nice strike straight on the Imperial official. No textiles either, Ben! Greedy boy! And look at the stone. He never built the keep up. He completes the walls now, but already with Lancers raiding inside his base, he needs to get a military unit out ASAP. It's going to be the Spearmen. And I heard the banking. They finally I mean, they are both religious buildings, in fairness. Don't say you haven't been there. Most people have been there, all right? We're not going to judge BC for this. Yes, he's a pro player. He should know the difference between a Dome of Faith and a mosque. But in the frantic moment between clicking Lancers around and come back to your base, it's very easy to forget what's happened here. Maybe it's better this way because a 5 relic advantage for the Delhi at this stage does feel quite oppressive. At least this way it's like a friendly handicap. Also 3 sacred sites, the elephants in as well. The keep didn't go up in time, so Demuslim tried to play aggressive, got punished for it. And this is starting to look like it's going to be a clean Delhi game at this rate. I mean, I don't actually see a solution for Demuslim being fielded right now. Nestabis is going to be too slow, won't really answer the Lancers. Your Spearman count is pathetic. He's trying to rack it up now. But the issue that I always find happens in these situations, the Chinese, and we've seen this from Demuslim before as well, is you play a very defensive game on Altai. You wall yourself in, you condense yourself hard, you boom up this economy, but then it has to rush out into the midfield. And smart opponents will find a way of quickly controlling your borders. And by doing so, it means any attempt to break out and get resources elsewhere leads to an absolute massacre equivalent to the Yellow Turban Rebellion. See what I was talking about. Like, look, this is the pristine example. 31 villages on the front line. Spearman will hold for the moment, but what about the elephants? Nestabis, 2 of them are not going to deter here. And even more. Ladies and gentlemen, that is 53 of the villages that Demuslim has. 53 of his 80 economy units are out in the center now. And they're going for the keep drop. If the elephants intercept, though, that could be a massacre. And there it is. Pivots right across onto it. Arrows going to start to pepper them down. A lot of arrows being fired here. 15 per bow. And the elephant with the tusk joining in. That is going to be absolutely brutal. Ben, halfway built up. Should be able to complete it, but it might be a heavy loss for him as they're just getting peppered down one by one here. So keep will go up. And the elephants even start sieging into it. And they're going to commit right now. Scholars are going to start getting sniped in the meantime. Elephants being refocused. Spearman now moving across, but the arrow fire from abroad proving a small problem here. Beasty will back away as it looks like Demuslim is stabilizing somewhat, but a heavy hit there. 71 eco now to the 53. Remember, Beasty has 2 sacred sites guaranteed at all times. Alongside that, he also now has 5 relics. Ignore Dumbo dying. This is a different version of the Disney movie. But don't worry, folks. Despite the difference in script, this one might just end the same as the Disney movie. As Dumbo power cannot be denied, neither can the ponies. The My Little Ponies looking to do some pony of their own, chasing onto the clock tower Nesta B, starting to stockpile the damage in. All 3 of them going to be going down because barely any spearmen in place to intercept. Means a heavy loss for Demuslim, and after this, they can switch onto the villager line. We'll have to see if they do notice. Beastyqt, is he going to dive deep? The villagers just revealed. This should be a clear target for him. He's going to block and intercept, and the amount of villagers running the front line. Going to start getting clubbed down. He at least has textiles now, somewhat minimizing the casualties. But you are up against the Home Blades. The Home Blades are going to strike hard into you. And after that hard strike, he will choose to back away here. Ben, what? Demuslim! He was going for the aggressive keep drops. He gets intercepted again. And they say do or die, but that feels like a die. Check back again. Yeah, BC may have only got by 3 villagers, but Demuslim still stuck at 71. And look at the stone pool. This was his play. This was his plan. He's done it to BC before. He thought he could do it again. He was looking to aggressively keep drop the base and then surround it with 2 to 3 keeps total. Unable to do so, though, and now looking like he might be in dire tides. Another keep in the center, playing under the ball. Doesn't care about the villagers that are being absolutely brutalized by Pumbaa here. Beastyqt, this should be where he transitions into trebuchets for an easier way of breaching the defenses. Auto aggro trigger for the Springle. Nice try there, but quick reaction out to Demuslim. Won't sacrifice all those spears. By the way, right now, he can't easily afford to replace those spears. Look at the income. Demuslim is at 30 food a second. He drained the berries too fast and didn't prep for the transition because he couldn't. He was prioritizing stone too hard. That's why he rushed out onto the boars. That's why this is going to be saving grace, because without this, folks, this game is already over. Still could be at this rate, though. Farms are at least coming out, so have that scalability behind him. But this gap in your economy is allowing Beasty to escalate. 34 military now to the A, and another keep going up as Demuslim once again tries to stabilize off the back of static defenses. Now with 4 keeps creating a line. But that line is diveable. Lancers back off for the moment. Treb shots now coming in as the elephants add into that damage onto the keep. An awkward state of affairs. You can see the Lancers. They smell blood in the water. They are sharks circling at this stage. Because as soon as those villagers pull out to try and repair, they're going to target them. They don't even need to. The elephants now getting shots in. Villagers, emergency repairs trying to come out. And Sprills now moving in to start tagging out those villagers. In the meantime, the Lancers are at least cleaned up. Nest of Bees will survive. One Nest of Bees is not going to be enough to deter him away from this. There's a heavy hit going on here. Beastyqt now up to 62 villagers, and Demuslim at risk of falling below him. And look at this as well. Demuslim barely able to keep up the repair demand here. These trebuchets, well, those shots don't cost nothing. There's no cost to stone to fire with these bad lads. The second one coming out, this is going to force a bigger demand for Demuslim still. And remember, as it stands economically, he's now only 6 villages ahead, but 17 of them are going to be regularly idling to keep these fortifications alive. Now Beastyqt, with 1 keep, he's looking to do more than Demuslim could with 4. Rushing onto the site, Sacred Site, decap is going to be intercepted as Demuslim tries to get a freebie, but the Lancers and the Elephants pushing him back, not enough spears here. The food is a limiting factor for both players, but it's a bigger issue for Demuslim. He's not got a standing army behind him to keep him alive here. Elephants will block the site. Last of the spearmen being targeted down, peppered down as the trebuchets keep that castle on fire, and the villagers slowly just keep on dying. The wood demand is no longer a problem, but the food department is still my chief concern for Demuslim as Beastyqt maintains control. The countdown doesn't continue for the moment, but he'll renew the assault once again with the Tower Elephants moving in, and these villagers are going to be butchered. Several of them going down. Trebs stacking up. Third one could be coming out soon. Greased axles as well to make sure he can re-maneuver faster, and that keep always on fire. Demuslim always drained down here. I don't really see the way anymore. Yeah, it seems like he's blocking the win condition, but he's also blocking his own scalability. Demuslim has 2,500 surplus gold and nothing to do with it. Because outside of Nest of Bees, nothing he builds requires it. He will at least get rid of another elephant. But behind this, Beastyqt now going in for a second keep drop. And remember, that keep is denying the decap here. Sprill shot's coming out. Nest of Bees is going to be killed. And if that second keep goes up, Demuslim has no unit that can stand on that site. And remember that he has no way of getting the outer sites either. This could just be a mass villager pull to try and get the decap. He has to. Ring-a-ding-ding. 3 minutes until a Sacred Site victory. He tried his best to delay, but now he has nothing else to throw in for a delay. Trebs finally wheeling out for Demuslim. More villagers being pulled to keep that fortification alive, but they might just have to dive on the point and get the decap, and here it comes, rushing in. Behind this, though, a few scholars, a few springalds. They could intercept, they could deny this. Decap coming out. Demuslim, look how quickly the villagers are dying here. So many going down, one Lancer will come out, and Demuslim knows that he can't kill a single Lancer with a villager force. GG gets called. Crafty bugger he is. Beastyqt will still find a way to get his Sacred Site victory.